So, what does it actually take to build a civilization, from the ground up? Today, we're going to decode that blueprint. We're looking at the essential steps our ancestors took to go from these tiny, scattered tribes to absolutely sprawling empires. Let's dive right in.
Think about it for a second. It's one of the biggest, most fundamental questions in all of human history. How did we do it? How did we go from these small, wandering groups to building these vast, incredibly complex societies that literally spanned continents? What were the key ingredients? Well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out. But first, let's start with a really surprising twist. The one decision that made all of civilization possible? Well, it also came at a pretty steep physical price. Our hunter-gatherer ancestors, they were basically the super athletes of the past. The average guy was about 5'9". The first farmers? They shrank to 5'3". So the big question is, why on earth would you ever make a choice that literally cuts you down to size? Well, the answer lies in the first, absolutely crucial step on our blueprint, the agricultural revolution. And believe me, this wasn't just about growing food. It was about completely changing what it even meant to be human.
Okay, so you've got places like ancient Uruk in Mesopotamia. And here, something truly revolutionary happens. For the very first time, people could reliably produce more food than they needed right away, and they could do it all in one spot. This totally broke the cycle of constant wandering. It laid the very first foundation stone for cities, for culture, and for pretty much everything that came next. All right, let's move to the next part of our blueprint. Because once you have thousands of people all living together, you're going to need a system. You need some kind of social hardware to keep the whole thing from just collapsing into chaos. Over in Babylon, King Hammurabi came up with a game-changing solution, written law. And wow, his code was harsh, but it was a system. And you can see right here how the social order worked. Notice the punishment for harming a slave is just a fine? Your status, your value, was literally written right into the law for everyone to see.
Now, Egypt took a totally different route. Their entire society was structured like one massive pyramid. Every single person, from the farmer digging in the dirt to the skilled artisan, was working to serve the pharaoh at the very top. He was their connection to the gods. It was this really rigid, top-down blueprint for how society should run. And then you've got this third blueprint, one that's all about public works. While some were busy writing laws and building monuments to the gods, the Indus Valley civilization was building these incredibly sophisticated sanitation systems for the living. We're talking covered drains and toilets. They knew that the health of their city was the key to its survival. So we have the hardware, right? The laws, the hierarchies, the infrastructure. But what about the software? What are the shared beliefs, the big ideas that actually make these societies tick? For this, the ancient Greeks give us two radically different operating systems. You had Sparta. Its software was coded for one thing and one thing only: military strength, a tough, aristocratic warrior society. But then, right next door, you had Athens running this wild new experiment called democracy. Some citizens could actually vote. And get this, key council members were chosen completely at random, by lottery. Now, not everybody was a fan of this Athenian experiment. The philosopher Plato basically argued that running a state is like navigating a ship through a storm. You don't pick your captain by drawing lots, right? You pick the most skilled navigator you can find. So he asked, why in the world would we let random, untrained people steer the entire ship of state? And that right there raises the timeless question, doesn't it? Plato's idea sounds pretty good on paper, but who actually gets to decide who the wisest ruler is? Because as history has shown us time and time again, pretty much every leader thinks they're the wisest one for the job. It's a debate we're still having right now. Okay, but no civilization is an island. Sooner or later, these different worlds are bound to collide. And yeah, this often leads to war, but as we're about to see with the Egyptians and the Hittites, it can also lead to something totally new. So here's how the story goes. You have two superpowers, Egypt and the Hittite Empire, and they're locked in this huge struggle for dominance. They finally meet for this epic, massive showdown at the Battle of Kadesh. We're talking tens of thousands of soldiers, waves of chariots, there was even espionage involved. But after all that bloodshed, something really unexpected happened. Neither side could win. It was a complete and total stalemate. So the really crucial part is what they did next. Instead of just endless grinding war, they chose peace. This quote here is from the world's very first major peace treaty. They came to the incredible realization that trade and stability were way more valuable than conquest. What a stunning act of diplomacy more than 3,000 years ago. So why does any of this ancient history really matter to us today? It matters because the blueprints they created, the hardware and the software they designed, are still with us. Their world left powerful echoes in ours.
And the echoes of their world are all around us. That wild democratic experiment in Athens, well, that's now a global ideal. The Babylonian idea that a society should be governed by a clear, written set of laws, that's the foundation of modern justice. And the Greek habit of asking those really deep questions about how we should all live, that became philosophy. It became science, the very concept of a huge, multi-ethnic empire that lives on in nations today. And maybe the loudest echo of all is that universal search for meaning, the religions and the belief systems that shape their art, their laws, their entire view of the universe. Every single decision they made, from planting a single seed to writing a single law, it left a mark that has lasted for thousands of years. And that leaves us with one final and really crucial question. When future generations look back at us, what will our echo be? What blueprints are we designing for them right now?